So in our last lecture, we had started with taxation and merger. We covered the fundamentals, the basics of taxation and merger, that why taxation and merger we are studying while studying mergers, why we are studying the portion for taxation, because again, in case of merger, there is a capital gain which is involved, there is a capital asset which gets transferred. Hence the three parties may get affected. One is the transferee company, the transferor company, and the shareholders, right? These parties that get affected, and for that reason we need to compute the capital gain. Some places will find capital gain, some places will also see the impact is on the PGBP. So this is what we saw, that the taxation aspect of amalgamation or demerger. In that case, you have the transferor company and you have the shareholders. They are doing the transfer, and the definition of transfer in the Income Tax Act is the inclusive definition, where it includes sale, exchange, extinguishment, everything. Hence, these two heads get affected. Capital gain definitely, quite possible PGBP also gets affected. Thereafter, we saw that when we have to do the when the taxation liability comes into the picture, so it is when at the time of amalgamation or demerger the liability arises. Now this liability may either do not arise. If it does not arise, then it is not taxable. If it arises, then further you have 2 points where you have to make the payment right now, or the payment would be deferred to a certain other event which is going to take place in future. So if you have to pay it immediately, it is taxed immediately. If it is to be deferred, then we can say that we have exemption right now, right? At least the exemption is right now. We'll pay the tax later on, depending upon the event that takes place in future, right? So we'll have to see the tax benefits of the for the demerger. In case of demerger, we'll have to see for the demerged company, resulting company, and the shareholders. In case of amalgamation, we have to see for the transferor company, transferee company, and the shareholders. Now we also saw that demerger, the word demerger, is demerger defined in the Companies Act? Does Companies Act define demerger? Does Companies Act define demerger?
No.
No, demerger is not defined in the Companies Act. Okay, then is amalgamation defined in the Companies Act?
No.
Okay, then which act defines amalgamation?
Income tax act.
Income
It's
Tax
the
Act.
income tax. It's the income tax act. So we'll have to see that the transaction. So we have undertaken a transaction. Okay. Now we have to see whether this transaction is a amalgamation or this transaction is a demerger. Okay. We'll have to see as per the Income Tax Act. Here, just ignore what Companies Act says. Here, just see what income tax is there. So same like how we did in the Accounting Standard 14. You have 5 conditions. You need to comply all those 5 conditions. If you do that, we say the accounting treatment should be as per the pooling of interest method. Otherwise, it is going to be purchase method. Same way, when you'll see here, a transaction has taken place. Now, maybe for Companies Act, this is a merger. Okay. Maybe for Companies Act or maybe for the takeover regulation, this is a takeover, whatever it is. But we'll have to see whether it satisfies all the conditions provided in the Income Tax Act for amalgamation or for a demerger. If that is the case, only then we can discuss about the tax benefits. So what is going to be your first step? Your first step is going to identify the transaction that has taken place. Then you need to see what is the nature of the transaction, how the transaction has been routed, and whether the conditions get fulfilled or not. Because if the conditions do not get fulfilled, in actual, it may be a merger, but again, the tax benefit will not be available. In actual, it may be a demerger. Everything is same, but again, since you're not fulfilling all the conditions, you may not get the benefit of the taxation benefit in case of a demerger. And I'll tell you, tax benefit is extremely important, because this one thing can either decide that the merger will take place or the merger may not take place. They always say, you understand this word synergy? So all those who have understood chapter 1 or you have gone through chapter 1, you will understand synergy benefit or synergy gain. Do you remember this? Do you remember
Yes.
this word? So synergy, normally what do we say? 1 plus 1 is greater than 2. If this is the scenario, we say synergy benefit or synergy gain is there. Now what you have to see when we are studying about the taxation part, it is 1 plus 1. It should be greater than 2. But this 1 plus 1 less tax. Or rather, I would write it vertically on horizontally only I'll write it. It is like this: 1 plus 1. Okay, then minus tax. Now don't start with mathematics, sir. You have put bracket, minus minus becomes plus, right? Take it this way. So this is the scenario: 1 plus 1 minus tax. This should be greater than 2. Only then we will say there is a tax benefit. Otherwise, the merger will not take place. So this is the synergy benefit, and that is the reason taxation becomes very, very important. Rather, step one, when you do due diligence, step one is your taxation. When you decide whether a particular transaction should take place or not, we first of all discuss about the tax, and then we discuss about the regulatory challenges, that whether it is possible or not. So regulatory challenges, quite possible it may not be there, but if tax way, if it is not viable, then the merger will not take place, the demerger will not take place. Okay, so this is the news there. By the way, watch out, there is a lot of rumor that ITC may get demerged. I think I had mentioned about it in the last class or not, I don't know. Quite possible that ITC may get demerged. So if ITC may get demerged, then in that case you will have a good case study, because that's India's one of the topmost conglomerate company. So if it gets demerged, then you should go ahead and follow the case. By the way, today Cyrus Mistry, Ratan Tata case is already, the verdict is already given by the Supreme Court, right? Go and read the order. I would sincerely say, right? Please, sincerely, I would say, go and read the order. If you haven't gone through the case, then yes, NCLAT order is squashed, right? NCLT order is upheld, setback for Cyrus Mistry, right? Just go and read the order. It is going to be very good. It will take time, like reading the order, it is going to take time. It will require a lot of patience also. But trust me, the actual learnings which you will get is from that particular order only. Okay, so just go ahead with that. So with that note, we again get back to our mergers and taxation part, right? So if we see here, we have to just see that whether the transaction complies with the conditions which are mentioned in the Income Tax Act or not, and only then it will qualify as an amalgamation. So we saw that these two examples, one was the analysis by Jeet, another was by Mansi, and then we discussed about how this exemption and everything take place. So last class I had got you here. This was the last slide we had covered in the last lecture. So we have to now understand what is the definition of amalgamation and what is the amalgamation of demerger. Okay, so when we discuss about the definition of amalgamation, so it is section 2 bracket 1b. It defines amalgamation, and amalgamation here has been defined in such a way that, just see, so amalgamation in relation to the companies means merger of one or more company with another company. So one way of amalgamation is what? It is the merger of one company with another. Okay, so merger of one company with another. And second is, or the merger of two or more companies to form one company. Okay. So this is the second way how the amalgamation can take place. So this is basically what? Merger of one or more company with another company. So this is A plus B is equal to A. What is this? This is A
Sure.
plus B is equal to C, right? So the company or the companies which so merge being referred as amalgamating company, right? And with which they merge is called as amalgamated company. So just see, how does amalgamation, how is, by the way, this is for old syllabus students. I have seen in your past paper, Institute has asked what is amalgamation, the exact definition of amalgamation. This has been asked in the exam. So if you are comfortable with the definition, you will write the exact definition in the exam. Otherwise, you will just explain it in your generic way. In the generic way, you don't get a score. So just to understand this definition without mugging up, but yet remembering the definition, how it is and as it is. So just see, for amalgamation, what is there? In case of amalgamation, there will be a merger. And merger will be how? Merger will be that one company is merging with the other, or the two companies they merge together and they form one company. Okay. So these are the two ways how the amalgamation can take place. And in that case, there are two types of companies which are involved. Another one is amalgamating company, another is the amalgamated company. So amalgamating company is the transferor company, that's the merging company. So the way to remember what is amalgamating and what is amalgamated, because if you see your module, you'll find the words have been swapped as per their discretion. So that's either the technical error, right, or it's the typing error, whatever it is. But you be very, very clear that the company which is merging, that is the transferor company, and the merging company is the amalgamating company. And the company which is merged, the company with which it gets merged, is the amalgamated company. So just remember what is amalgamating company, because if you remember amalgamating company, then you will be able to answer the other. So the only problem is that you may get confused between these two terms. So just understand the merging company. Now, who is the merging company? That's the transferor company. The merging company is the amalgamating company, and the merged company with which they merge is the amalgamated company, in such a way or in such manner. So if you discuss this, these are the conditions. So quite possible a merger has taken place, a plus b is equal to a, but to qualify this merger as an amalgamation, whatever conditions which will be mentioned now, these three conditions should be fulfilled. If these three conditions are fulfilled, only then we can say that the merger qualifies to be called as a amalgamation. So what is the condition? Just see, the first condition is all the property of the amalgamating company immediately before the amalgamation becomes the property of amalgamated company by virtue of the amalgamation. Vaishali ji is saying, can you please repeat the definition once again? Yes, for sure. Just see, when we discuss about the definition of amalgamation, in case of amalgamation, what is amalgamation? Amalgamation involves a merger. Okay. In case of amalgamation, there involves a merger. The merger can be like this, where one company is merging with the other, or the merger can be where two companies merge together and they form one new company. Okay. The company which is getting merged, okay, that is the amalgamating company, and the company with which it is getting merged is the amalgamated company. So basically, if you can note it down, in case you want to note it down, so you can do it this way: the transferor company is the merging company, okay, and that is the amalgamating company. That's the amalgamating company. And what is the transferee company? With whom transferor is merged. So that's the amalgamated company. Now, is this clear? Is this clear? The definition of
Yes, sir.
amalgamation. So amalgamation, okay, involves merger. Amalgamation means merger. And in case of merger, either one with another and the other would be two together. One with another is a plus b is equal to a. Two together would be a plus b is equal to c, this way, right? Plus, then there are three conditions. They need to satisfy these three conditions. If these three conditions are satisfied, you get marks. So basically you get that, you clear that the merger is what? The merger is amalgamation. And after that, if you write the same definition in the exam, you'll get more marks. So what are the three conditions? The three conditions: one is with respect to the property. All the property is same. The liabilities are same. Plus 90% of the shareholders should be same. Now, if you remember, Companies Act does not have any such condition that 90% of the shareholders 90% of the shareholders should be same. No such condition is mentioned in the Companies Act, right? But if let's say 85% of the members they agree, okay, 85% of the members agree, and all the assets are transferred, all the liabilities are transferred, everything is transferred at book value, everything is same. So see, that transaction is merger as per section 232 of the Companies Act. It will also qualify as a pooling of interest method in case of AS 14. But when we discuss about the taxation aspect, here it will not be qualified to be called as amalgamation or classified as an amalgamation. Why? Because the 90% condition is not getting fulfilled. Hence, with 85% shareholders getting same, both in transferor and the transferee company, pursuant to amalgamation, they will get no tax benefit for amalgamation. Why? Because that particular transaction, that merger, does not qualify to be called as amalgamation. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just take a screenshot of this so that you can refer it. It will be helpful for you. So, Sridevi ji, this is the way I was telling you just before the lecture, that there are certain slides which will not be there in the PPT. So this is one of them. So I upfront say that please take a screenshot of this. So you can take a screenshot of this and later on, whenever you make your notes there, you can copy it. Okay. So let's go ahead then and discuss about it. So just see all the property, all the liability. Sorry, here it is 3/4. Just 1 minute. Sorry, 90% was in the case of AS 14. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. 90% was in the AS 14. This is here it is 3/4 only. Okay. So just see all the property. So the first condition that we have here is that all the property, right? All the property of the amalgamated company becomes the property of the amalgamated company by virtue of amalgamation. Now tell me, is the value provided? What should be the value at which it will be recorded? Is the value provided? What is the value?
No.
No, the value is not provided, but it is by default that whatever is the value in the books of the transferor company, the same will be in the books of the transferee company. So all the property gets transferred. Second, all the liabilities get transferred. And next is at least 3/4 of the shareholders of the amalgamating company, they must become the shareholders of the amalgamated company. So all those should be same. Now tell me, is this clear? Is it a rocket science definition? Is it a rocket science definition? Answer is no. You cannot say that this is a rocket science definition. Amalgamation is a merger. Merger either like this or like this, where all the property gets transferred, all the liabilities get transferred, and 3/4. So just remember, just like how I just got confused with 90%. 90% is in the case of AS 14. So just remember, don't write 90%. Just write 3/4 of the shareholders of the amalgamating company must become the shareholders of the amalgamated company. Guys, is this clear? Next, you
Yes.
have the definition of demerger. So what happens in case of a demerger? So in case of demerger, you have this bigger company. From this, a small chunk gets out, okay? Or the completely this particularly this company gets chucked off, and you have separate companies in place of that. So that is a demerger. So demerger is, again, as I said, it is not defined in the Companies Act, neither in 2000 and neither in 1956 Act nor in 2013 Act. But again, demerger is what? Demerger has been defined in the Companies Act. And how demerger is defined? It is defined as a kind of arrangement. Demerger is a kind of arrangement between the company and its shareholders. Okay. So when we did section 232, that point of time we had discussed about it, that how demerger is covered in section 232, right? That's because of this particular thing, that it is a arrangement between the company and its shareholder. So and the arrangement also includes the reorganization of share capital. So how does it work? How does it work? So you have the demerged company, correct? So just see, you have the demerged company. This demerged company is going to transfer the property, it is going to transfer the liability, and it is also going to transfer the business. Collectively, you can say it will transfer the undertaking to another company, which will be called as the resulting company. Okay. And this resulting company will then issue purchase consideration to the shareholders of demerged company, and they become the shareholder of the resulting company, right? They become the shareholders of the resulting company. So demerged company do not get anything, only the shareholders, they get the value. Demerged company, this is the group of shareholder. So these are the shareholders, the PC is directly paid to them, and then they become the shareholder of the resulting company also. Or if they want, they can sell those shares. They can say that instead of giving me the shares, give me the consideration in cash. I don't want this particular share. So as the case may be, it will be mentioned in the scheme. So this is how the demerger takes place. Okay. Is this part clear? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Right?
sir.
So just remember the definition of demerger also. Now just see that demerger, how it has been explained in the Income Tax Act. It is again same. Just see, demerger in relation to company means transfer. So in case of demerger, as I said, transfer takes place. So demerger in relation to companies means transfer pursuant to the scheme of arrangement. So one word which is important is what? It is transfer. Another is again pursuant to the scheme of arrangement, and this scheme of arrangement takes place between section 230 and 232. So this is 391 to 394. This was of the 1956 act. Now it is your 230 to 232, right? In such a manner that, so in such a manner means again you have certain conditions. So the conditions should be fulfilled, only then you can qualify this particular transaction as your demerger. So just see what are the conditions which are mentioned here. So the first condition that we have here is all the property of the undertaking. Okay, so the first condition that we have is with respect to the property. So all the property of the undertaking being transferred by with the demerged company immediately before demerger becomes the property of the resulting company by virtue of demerger. Next is all the liabilities. So again, this is similar to the amalgamation part, that all the liabilities relating to the undertaking. Now, if you see the word time and again, they've used this word undertaking. Why they've used this word undertaking? Because when you demerge, you don't sell collective assets. Okay, you demerge a particular business. We say the hive of a particular business segment. So that's the reason all the liabilities and all the assets of that particular business segment which is getting demerged, you separate it and you give it to the new company, okay, which is the resulting company. So let's say if ITC is to be uh, demerged, okay, and in ITC they plan that we will demerge the tobacco business. So in that case, all the assets which are expressly used for the tobacco business, all the liabilities which are expressly for the tobacco business, all that will get transferred, and the other businesses are still going to remain with ITC here. So all the property of the undertaking gets get transferred, all the liability of the undertaking, it gets transferred. Then the property and the liability. So these are transferred at book value, the values appearing in the books of accounts immediately before. So unlike amalgamation, the definition of demerger clearly mentions that when a demerger takes place, please uh, don't change the value of the assets and the liability. Write down the assets or just pass the entry in the books of accounts at the same book value. Thereafter, the resulting company issues consideration of the demerger directly to the shareholders of the demerged company on the proportionate basis, except where if you have fractional shares, right? Or rather, you're not having fractional shares, but if you work out with the swap ratio and the number of shares which are held, you get a decimal there. So in that case, you settle it in cash, right? And then the shareholders not less than 3/4. So this is also important. 3/4 of the shareholders in value should be same, right? 3/4 of the shareholders, this should be same. And again, it should be transferred. The resulting company issues in consideration the demerger only its own shares, right? And the transfer is made on the going concern basis. So the intention to carry on the business must be there. Otherwise, it becomes asset stripping. So just remember this word asset stripping. If the undertaking is transferred not as a going concern basis, this means it is asset stripping. Okay. So no asset stripping allowed. So you can write it here. No asset stripping allowed. Right? Right. So this is there. So basically demerger is also what? It's a kind of restructuring only. Demerger is, Vivek is asking what is asset stripping? So simple. Asset stripping is where I say I purchase a particular asset. I purchase a particular business. Now my intention is not to carry on the business. My intention is that I have purchased it for 100 rupees. I will realize 120 rupees by selling the assets of the company. That would be called as asset stripping. That is asset stripping. Simple. Have you seen that movie, Pretty Women? If you have seen that movie, Pretty Women, in that case, the actor is the merchant banker and he tells to that actress. So basically, that actress asks this guy that, what do you do for a living? So he says that I purchase company and sell it worth more than what I have purchased it for. Right. And he actually does is what he does is asset stripping. Simple. Okay, so you purchase the company for 100 rupees and then you sell all the assets and try to realize more than 100 rupees, right? Whatever is your expected rate of return, accordingly you sell it and you make profit out of that. So that is basically what that is called as asset stripping. आप एक एक करके सारे assets को उठा उठा के दे रहे हो. Okay, Jinesh. So विवेक आपका नाम वहां पे विवेक लिखा हुआ आया. So I thought you are Vivek. Okay. Glad you joined for the live lecture today. Anyway, ये clear हुआ? Is this clear? Asset stripping. This is a very common word. Okay. So again, if we discuss about demerger, so as I have said, that demerger is again, it's a kind of restructuring where the company gets split into two or more companies and in such a way that none of the companies holding or subsidiary of each other and their business operations are also segregated. It is inverse of the merger. Okay. Yes. So it's basically selling the assets at a higher than the cost price. Right. Absolutely. So that is asset stripping. But it is not just bunch of assets you are selling and how you have acquired this asset. That will again mean asset stripping. You have purchased a company. You have purchased a company, you have purchased a particular business, you have taken the undertaking, and now your objective is not to carry on the business. Your objective is just to realize the value, right? That is the objective. So that's where we say that the going concern intention is not there, and that is asset stripping. So merger amalgamation, coming back to the slide. So merger amalgamation, it is what? It is again inverse of the merger because A plus B is equal to C. This is merger. But if A gets split between two companies, B plus C, this is what? This is demerger, right? In case of demerger, there will be one existing company or which is also called as the demerged company, which transfers the assets and liabilities at the book value to the resultant company without any consideration, and the consideration is directly paid to the shareholders of the demerged company. Okay, the shareholders of the demerged company will be holding the shares of both demerged as well as the resulting company. So let's presume that uh, in case of ITC, the tobacco business is being hived off. Okay, now we have the share on, you all are the shareholders of ITC. So you all are holding the shares of ITC, and let's say the asset value of ITC or the share price of the ITC is 300 rupees. So this 300 rupees is representing all the different businesses. Now when the third business, basically one of the major business of ITC, let's say the tobacco business is getting hived off. So what is going to happen? Now you will be holding shares of two company. One is ITC, another is, let's say, ITC Wills Limited, right? So you will be holding the shares of, or ITC tobacco company, whatever the case may be, you'll be holding the shares of that company. Now, does it benefit you, right? Does the demerger benefit you? Do you say that just because you have two shares, you have more value now? Or demerger doesn't change the value? Can you get gain? Will you get gain if you do demerger? As a shareholder, as a shareholder, will demerger, will demerger give you the benefit? Will the demerger give you the benefit? Earlier you were holding shares of ITC, one share of ITC. Now you are holding one share of ITC and you are holding one share of ITC Tobacco. So do you think your value is going to increase? Jeet is saying no. Vaishali ji is also saying no. Okay. So the correct answer is anyway no, because just see, there is no value addition. You have just segregated the business. So on what basis the value appreciation would be there? Of course, the stock market valuations may go up with the expectation that in future the company will do good and then the share price may go up and all those things. So that is there. But on paper, if you discuss, there is no change in the value. You are simply segregating. It's like you had two 500 rupee note in your left pocket. You picked up one and you have put it in your right pocket. So you don't say that you have, while putting 500 rupee note in your right pocket, you do not say that you have earned 500 rupees. Okay. Or you cannot say this is my income, because what was there collectively in your both the pockets is now segregated or is split between your right and left pocket. Do you get the concept here? So in case of demerger, there is no change in the value, right? Generally, there is no change in the value. In case of demerger, the value remains same. The only thing, in future, the prices may get appreciated. So generally the share wealth of the shareholder in case of demerger do not get affected. Okay, it remains same, and whatever you were holding before demerger, you will be holding after demerger also of the same, more or less of the same value there. Okay, so is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
So
sir.
just remember this. Now, okay, I'll also explain you one thing. So just take it this way. Earlier, let's say you were holding ITC. ITC, you were holding one share, and this one share had a face value of rupees 10. The ITC's face value is 1 rupee, but just for example, I'm saying this. And let's say the market price was 300 rupees. This was before demerger. Okay. Now, after demerger, in case of demerger, what they have hived off? They have hived off the tobacco division. So now you will be holding two shares, one share of ITC. Okay. So again, the face value of rupees 10. And now you will be also holding share of ITC tobacco, and ITC tobacco, one share. This also face value rupees 10. Now, the value of these shares at the time of demerger would be such that the total will be 300 only. The total value would be 200 only. So maybe this can go, let's say if this is 70, so this can go 230. This can be the case, right? Anything, but it will not be more than 300 and it will also not be less than 300. Tentatively, you'll find it near about 300 only. Yes, in future, it may happen that after 1 year, this 70 rupees prices is going up, this 230 price is going up. So that's a separate issue. But at the time of demerger, the value will absolutely remain same. जो पहले था वही value बाद में भी रहेगा. Does this make sense? Guys, does this make sense? ये समझा आप लोगों को?
सर एक क्वेश्चन है,
Yes.
जैसे आईटीसी का वन शेयर के फेस वैल्यू 10 है, तो उसको और 10 रुपीज न्यू शेयर्स अलॉट होंगे?
हाँ, न्यू शेयर्स आपको अलॉट होंगे. जो आईटीसी
तो
टबैको का है वो आपको न्यू शेयर्स अलॉट होंगे, क्योंकि आप देखो ये जैसे मैंने आपको यहाँ पे एग्जांपल दिया था, ये जो डायग्राम मैंने यहाँ पे बनाया था, मैं आपको इस डायग्राम पे ले जाता हूँ. अब यहाँ पे देखिए, तो ये हो गया आपका आईटीसी और ये हो गया आपका आईटीसी टबैको. आईटीसी टबैको रिजल्टिंग कंपनी है.
सर इसके लिए पे करेगा ना, मतलब जो भी
नहीं
इसके
नहीं
फेस
नहीं
वैल्यू?
नहीं, आप पे नहीं करोगे. आप क्यों नहीं पे करोगे? बिकॉज जो 300 का शेयर था वो आज की डेट में आपका आईटीसी का 230 का हो गया है. तो आपने एक तरह से 30 रुपीज का जो 70 रुपीज का जो वैल्यू है उसको आपने सरेंडर किया. यस और नो?
यस.
उसको सरेंडर किया. क्यों किया? क्योंकि आपको 70 रुपीज का एक नए कंपनी का शेयर मिल रहा है. एंड दैट इज द रीजन इन केस ऑफ डीमर्जर टैक्स लग जाता है, बिकॉज when you discuss the definition of transfer, Even surrender is also transfer. So here you will attract the capital gain. Got it?
Okay.
अब आप कनेक्ट कर पा रहे हो पूरा पॉइंट जैसे जैसे हमने डिस्कस किया. वैशाली जी has asked the question that sir in case of demerger we will get same number of shares as held by the shareholder. No, it is totally going to depend on the swap ratio. So let's say ITC values one share for 70 rupees, then in that case you'll get one share. Let's say ITC tobacco values one share for let's say 35 rupees, then you'll get two shares. For every one share you'll get two share. So ultimately what you are going to get is a value of 70 rupees, which is equivalent to the value you have lost in ITC. Okay. So 70 rupees will be given to you. Now how this 70 will be given? It is totally dependent on them, right? Whether 70 is 10 rupees face value plus 60 rupees security premium, 1 rupee face value of 69 rupees securities premium, or it is 50 rupees face value, 20 rupees premium, or it is one share, whether they give you two share, whether they give you 70 shares of 1 rupee each, there is no change here. So why tax is charged in case of demerger? So Janesh, just understand that when 230 rupees, the value of 200, so you had purchased the share of 300 rupees, you purchased the shares of ITC at 300. Now the share value is gone down. Okay, good, you asked this question. I was supposed to cover this later, but I think it fits well here. Just see. Now, if you have to compute capital gain, how do you compute capital gain? For capital gain, we need two things. One is sale consideration and another is cost of acquisition. Yes or no? And with this, you get capital gain if it is positive, and if it is negative, you get capital loss. ऐसा ही होता है. अच्छा, अब आप देखो यहाँ पे क्या चेंज हो रहा है. I say you had purchased ITC. So cost of acquisition of ITC was, let's say 250 rupees. आज की डेट में मार्केट वैल्यू 300 rupees है, but cost of acquisition was 250 rupees, or forget 250, let's make it 300 only. The cost of acquisition is 300 rupees. You purchased it for 300 rupees. You have sale consideration here. This we are going to discuss that. Now tell me, what is the cost of acquisition for ITC tobacco? Have you paid anything? Have you paid anything to take the shares of ITC tobacco? Have you paid anything to get the shares of ITC tobacco? Have you paid anything? Answer is no. Okay, you have not paid anything, but still you have got this share. So technically, if you see, your cost of acquisition is what? It is nil. Okay. Now, when I say sale consideration, let's presume after 2 years, and this I'm saying after 2 years. This is what? This is sold at, let's say 500 rupees. This is sold at 900 rupees. Okay. And you know that what had happened in case of demerger. So if you have to calculate capital gain, if you have to calculate capital gain for ITC, what will be your capital gain? Rather, I'll write it here. If you have to calculate capital gain, you'll say 900 में मैंने बेचा, 300 का शेयर खरीदा, so 600 I will pay the tax. Here you will say 500 and nil, so you'll say 500 rupees is my tax. So what is your total profit? Your total profit is 1100. Okay. सर ऐसे भी तो चेक करो, 1100 ही आता है. This is 300 and this is what? This is 1400. So if you compare this, you anyway you are getting 1100, 1100, 1100. So sir, मतलब क्यों टैक्सेशन का इतना दिमाग क्यों लगाना? Now let's presume this is long term, this is short term. Now how will you calculate the taxation part? Because the tax on 600 will be different, the tax on 500 will be different. Got it? So we don't do it this way. So this is the wrong interpretation. This is the wrong interpretation. We do not calculate it this way. How do we calculate? We say that you had purchased ITC. You had purchased the shares of ITC. Okay. Company got demerged. The company got demerged into two parts. One is ITC and another is ITC Tobacco. So This 300 rupees will get split between this and this. And now let's say you sell it for 900, you sell it for 500. So here you are going to say there is a capital gain of 430 rupees, not 500. Okay. And here if you see 900 less 230 rupees, 900 less 230 rupees, you will say that 670. 670 is my gain. Now 670 will be taxed separately, 430 will be taxed separately. Got my point? Got my point? Got
ये जब
this?
शेयर होल्डर ट्रांसफर करेगा या सेल करेगा तब उसको ये टैक्स
तब
पे
उसको
करना
टैक्स
पड़ेगा।
देना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज अगेन आप लास्ट क्लास वाले एग्जांपल को लो, जब डीमर्जर हुआ है, डीमर्जर होते ही आप ये देखो जो 300 का शेयर का प्राइस है, ये 300 का प्राइस रिड्यूस होके 230 हो गया। अब ये क्यों 230 हुआ? क्योंकि 70 रुपीज को आपने क्या कर लिया है, एक्सचेंज किया है। और एक्सचेंज कैसे किया है? एक्सचेंज फॉर न्यू शेयर्स। सो बेसिकली योर 70 रुपीज गेट्स एक्सटिंग्विश्ड, वो खत्म हो गए। आप कभी भी देखना, check the share price before demerger and the check the share price after demerger, the record date. Just see that you'll find there is a fall in the value, but that fall is not loss. That fall is not loss. That fall is basically a correction that has taken place, because whatever the value has been reduced, you'll be compensated for the same amount when you get a new share. आप बताओ ये क्लियर हुआ?
यस सर।
ये क्लियर हुआ? जिनेश ये क्लियर हुआ? Is this clear? Right? In fact, tell me, bonus issue mein, do you find there is any profit whenever the company gives bonus issue? Do you think there is any profit? When the company gives bonus issue, do you think there is a profit to the shareholder? Or there is no profit? Sridevi is saying no. Jinesh is saying yes. Okay. So, Jinesh, I have 1000 shares of ITC. Okay. And his market value is 300. The share price market value is 300. So my portfolio is worth 3 lakh rupees. Correct. Now ITC comes up with a bonus issue, and bonus issue is of 1:1. Now how many shares I'll have? I'll have 2000 share. Okay. 2000 shares of ITC. What will be the value of these 2000 shares? What will be the market value of these 2000 shares? Vaishali ji, please check the video, archive video, because that slide is already gone. So sorry. Right? 2000 shares. Now you think these 2000 shares will be valued at 300 rupees, which means your value will be 6 lakh rupees. Correct? Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think
यस
this is
सर।
going to happen? No, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen. 2000 shares of ITC, its market value will be 150 per share. And you see your overall portfolio is going to be 3 lakh. What you were holding before, you'll be holding same. There is no change in value.
चेंज इन नंबर्स,
Change in the
शेयर
number of
नंबर
shares.
ऑफ शेयर।
So आप ये देखो, ये ऐसे रहता है, number of shares, okay, into the price per share. इससे आपके पास आता है total value. आपका वैल्यू रहेगा सेम. ओके. नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स इंक्रीज होंगे. अगर नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स इंक्रीज होंगे तो प्राइस क्या होगा? प्राइस डिक्रीज होगा. तो ये प्राइस को डिक्रीज होने को हम फॉल नहीं बोलेंगे. विल नॉट से यू हैव लॉस्ट. विल नॉट से द प्राइस इज लॉस्ट. ओके. इसको हम बोलते हैं करेक्शन. योर ओवरऑल वैल्यू इज सेम बिकॉज अर्लियर यू हैड वन शेयर of rupees 300. So your total value was 300. Now you have 2 shares of rupees 300 and of 600. अगर ये calculation आप सोचते हो, you will be at heavy loss. Now you will have 2 shares of 150 each and the value will be same. The value is going to be same. Okay. So Janesh, it is not just you, even your professor. When I was in CS final, I had just cleared my executive, I had just cleared my CA intermediate. Even I felt that this is going to be the profit. And the example that I've given you is exactly same. This is what happened with me in 2010. Okay. I actually had thrown a party and that point of time, this bike, Charisma, Hero Honda Charisma, बहुत ही ज्यादा फेमस था रोडीज के चक्कर में. So I had also planned that I will purchase one Hero Honda Charisma. Okay. I had also planned that I'll purchase N95. Now at that point of time, N95 was the mobile phone, not the mask. Okay, Nokia N95, one of the first touchscreen mobile phones, premium touchscreen mobile phones. I had planned I'll purchase N95 mobile phone. I'll purchase a new Honda Charisma because I thought that, I've invested 3 lakh rupees and it has become 6 lakh. So I've made a profit of 3 lakh rupees, right? So I had all those plans, right? So all those things I had planned, but then I got to know the share price has come down to 150 and my value is exactly same. There is no change in the value. What I had before, I have it right now also, right? So the value does not change. Okay.
सर एक चीज और पूछनी थी, जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि जब बोनस इशू करती है कोई कंपनी, तो उस टाइम पे शेयर मार्केट में जैसे अप हो जाता है उसका मार्केट प्राइस वगैरह,
Okay.
तो उस बेसिस पे तो आपको प्रॉफिट हो रहा होगा ना?
बिल्कुल. देखो मैं आपको बताता हूँ what had happened. I had, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, I had 1000 shares, 1000 shares, 300 rupees. This was my portfolio. So this was 3 lakh rupees. Now what I had done, ये बन गया 2000 shares and 2000 shares of 150. So this is 3 lakh. So as I said, I am a Marwadi and since I said I had thrown a party, so party थोड़ा बड़ा था मेरा, so I had to recover the loss also. So what I did, I'll tell you. ये जो 2000 shares है, as per Income Tax Act, it gets split between two parts. One is 1000 shares and another 1000 shares. So this is 1000 original shares which I had purchased and these 1000 are the bonus shares. Now as per Income Tax Act, the cost of acquisition of this share is what? This share is whatever I had purchased. So my average cost of acquisition was 230 rupees. This was my cost of acquisition of this 1000 shares. So cost of acquisition 230, but as per Income Tax Act, the cost of acquisition of bonus share was what? It is nil. Okay. Now what I did, I sold these shares. I sold these shares and I sold these shares for 170 rupees. Okay. Now when I sold the first lot, so let's make it A and let's make it B. So when I sold the first lot of shares, how my income tax was calculated? It was like this: sales consideration 170 less cost of acquisition 230. So I am technically making a loss of 60 rupees per share. Yes or no? This 60 rupees per share into 1000 shares. So I have made a short-term capital loss, of 60,000 rupees. Now this short-term capital loss was written off with my short-term capital gain. And short-term capital gain, that time it was taxed at the rate 15%, right? So on 60,000, I saved a tax of 15%. So almost 9,000 rupees का मेरा tax save हो गया. Now, technically, do you think I have made a loss? Answer is no. I have not made a loss. I actually made a profit. But it is what? As per Income Tax Act, I have made a loss. So I got a set off of this 9,000 rupees. Apart from that, these bonus shares, I sold them after a year. So the bonus shares I sold after 1 year And when I sold them after 1 year, it was long-term capital gain, and I sold it for, I think, 208 rupees or something. This was the price. I don't remember exactly. So I sold it. Now, this is the sales consideration minus cost of acquisition. So cost of acquisition of bonus share is always what? It is always nil. So 208 रुपए का profit into 1000 shares. So 2,08,000 is my long-term capital gain on which there is nil tax. Right? So I saved a lot of tax with this particular transaction. But if you see at the time of bonus, there was no profit, there was no gain. Okay. शेयर मार्केट में जो उछाल आता है, वो शेयर मार्केट में उछाल इसी वजह से आता है कि अब जो पहले शेयर 300 का था, आज की डेट में वो शेयर 150 रुपीज का हो गया, तो और ज्यादा लोग शेयर्स को खरीदेंगे। पहले मार्केट में सिर्फ 1000 शेयर्स थे, अब 2000 शेयर्स हो गए, और ज्यादा लोग शेयर्स को खरीदेंगे, बेचेंगे। तो जितना ज्यादा ट्रेडिंग होगा, उतना ज्यादा शेयर का प्राइस आपका ऊपर होगा। सो 150 का प्राइस फिर धीरे 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 ऊपर जाने लगेगा। एंड दिस इज व्हाट एक्चुअली हैपेंड इन 1 year। द शेयर प्राइस वेंट अप from 150, it went up to almost 210. So this was again that 52-week high when I sold the shares. So it was 208 or something, 210, I don't remember exactly. So वो एक साल के अंदर ही आप देखो 50 रुपीज का गेन हो गया। अगर यही 300 रहता तो शायद 50 रुपीज का गेन नहीं होता, शेयर प्राइस धीरे धीरे ऊपर जाता, बट यहाँ पे इस तरह से ऊपर गया। सो दिस इज हाउ इट वर्क्स। एंड जब मैंने ये सोच के रखा था कि मुझे 3 लाख का प्रॉफिट हुआ है और मैंने देखा कि नहीं, मुझे प्रॉफिट नहीं हुआ, दिस इज द सिनेरियो, मुझे एक बहुत ही ज्यादा सेटबैक लगा था। राइट, आई एक्चुअली वेंट डाउन टू माय प्रोफेसर, आई एक्चुअली स्टार्टेड क्राइंग देयर, सर बहुत बुरा हुआ है मेरे साथ। राइट, आई ऑलवेज थॉट बोनस शेयर्स आर फ्री शेयर्स एंड बोनस में बहुत फायदा होता है, ये होता है। सो एक्चुअली आई डिड दिस काइंड ऑफ ट्रेडिंग एंड सी आई हैव इनकर्ड अ लॉस। राइट, so technically it was no loss, but sir, I have thrown a party without making any profit. I have thrown a party, sir. So that loss is there. So what to do? Right. And that's how we figured out something like this. I was also doing CA, right? So this is what we did, and we made some profit accordingly. Right? Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Jinesh, so clear? Is this point clear? How you make like bonus is not profit. Same way in case of demerger, if you don't go into these calculations, then it will become difficult for you. So that's the reason we have this kind of a calculation. So before and after it is like this, and the wealth of the shareholders totally remains same. So Astha ji, this can happen in future, that this 230 rupees may speed up and it may go up high very quickly. This 70 rupees may go up quickly, which this 300 may not have gone up. Okay. Yes, but there is
Okay.
a move in the share price. But tell me, yes, the indirect profit is there. The move is in the share price, but that share price move is in the market, not from company, not from company. That share price movement is in the market. That share price may go up. Quite possible the share price may go down also. Let's say the demerger took place, immediately government said that on tobacco we have increased the duty to 50%. What is going to happen? Do you think the 70 rupees share price will go up? No, the share price will crash. The market price is going to crash. But that is all subject to market risk. So that's the market. But is company giving you any kind of a profit? At the time of demerger, is company giving you any kind of profit? Answer is
No.
clearly no. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, whatever profit or loss which you are making, that is all subject to market. That is not related to the company. So when the demerger takes place, the value remains same. Tell me, when ITC had given me one bonus share, do you think ITC had given me any kind of a profit? Answer is no. ITC had given, I had paid 300 rupees to ITC. I was still holding shares worth rupees 300 only. Earlier it was one share. Now it is two share. So there is no change in the profit, right? There is no change in the value from company. Whatever happened, it happened when the market price went up. Quite possible market could have gone down also. Okay. So that's again the market risk, not the company risk. Okay. So let's come back here. Now, when we discuss about the merger or amalgamation, just see that first of all, I said you what is going to be your step one? Your step one, you have to see the definition of amalgamation. You have to see the definition of amalgamation. You have to see the definition of demerger. आपको सबसे पहले ये चेक करना होगा कि जो amalgamation और demerger है, क्या आप उसके definition में fit करते हो क्या? अगर आप fit करते हो, then this is going to be your step 2. And in step 2, what it is, that if the amalgamated company, now quickly tell me, amalgamated company, is it the transferor company or we are talking about the transferee company?
Transferee company.
Transferee company.
Transferee company. Okay. So just see, I'll write it here so that I don't have to erase it. Step 1 is find out the definition. Just see whether you fit into the definition of amalgamation or demerger. Then your step 2 will be to check whether the amalgamated company, okay, the amalgamated company, the transferee company or the resulting company, is it an Indian company or not? Because if it is not an Indian company, then in that case, there is no use. There is no use because you will not get the tax benefit. So the gain arising on the transfer, just ignore this. The gain arising on the transfer of capital asset in a scheme of amalgamation or demerger is exempt if the amalgamated or the resulting company in case of demerger is an Indian company. Now tell me, is this clear? Is this clear?
So in
Sure.
so that means in case of cross-border merger, if there is
I was
an
about to
amalgamation,
I was about to go there, and I will also add one video of Bloomberg Quint. It's a 7 or 10-minute short video. I will also add it there. Right now you will again get a holistic view. So we have read section 234, right? We have read section 234 of the Companies Act, which says that inbound merger, outbound merger, both are allowed. Okay. So inbound merger, there is no problem because the transferee company or the amalgamated company will be an Indian company. Therefore, the capital gain tax will be exempt. But in case of outbound merger, okay, in case of outbound merger, what is going to happen? In case of outbound merger,
The resultant company is foreign company.
foreign company. So if the resultant company is a foreign company, will you get the tax benefit?
No.
If you will not get the tax benefit, will anyone do such kind of merger?
No.
Because I said you, what is the first thing which people see? 1 plus 1, 2 minus tax, that should be greater than 2. Yes or no? So if the tax benefit is not there, quite possible that the cross-border merger will not take place. And that is the reason recently, if you see, even after the outbound merger is now enabled by the Companies Act, and also we have the RBI cross-border merger regulations, which again allows such kind of transaction to take place. A corresponding change in the Income Tax Act has not been done, right? If this change is being done, only then we will say that the tax benefit will be extended to the cross-border mergers, that is the outbound mergers, and only then we will see some outbound mergers taking place. And anyway, if you see India in terms of taxation part, is it's not considered as a good jurisdiction. India is considered to be a bad jurisdiction when it comes to taxation. We have the Vodafone India case, we have the Crane India case. Recently India has lost that one also, right? So that is the reason no cross-border merger would take place here. Okay, is this clear? So the gain arising on the transfer. Now how the transfer is going to take place, I hope this is very clear, right? How the transfer is going to take place, it is going to be very, very clear because we discussed this in the last class, right? And now do you understand why I explained each and every aspect in the previous lecture? That when this amalgamation takes place, remember Richa was holding the shares, she purchased it on 1st of January 2015, 2017 merger took place. She has not sold the shares, but again transfer has taken place. Now because of the transfer, the capital gain has arisen. So this was Jeet's interpretation, right? Now after Jeet interpretation, we saw Mansi's interpretation, and Mansi's interpretation is correct here because of this particular thing, because the gain arising on the transfer due to amalgamation or demerger will be exempt only and only if the resultant company or if the amalgamated company is an Indian company. If it's a foreign company, then the tax benefit will not be extended there. Now you see, we'll have few more points here. Just see, first and foremost, the allowability of expenditure relating to amalgamation or demerger. By the way, this part now from whatever part we are going to study in your module, it has been given in a very elaborated way. They've basically just copied pasted the Bare Act, right? So which is again not needed, right? Wherever Bare Act is needed, I've picked up that. But Income Tax Act, these provisions, you don't need to get into the details, because for examination point of view also it's not very relevant, and from practice side also company secretaries will not be considered for the tax consultancy. It's mostly the chartered accountants who will be there. Now to satisfy the ego, I can say no, company secretaries also are considered for taxation and all, but practically I've seen very few company secretaries who will be considered for taxation. Most of it they go for chartered accountants only. So that's the reason taxation part, even if you have a basic knowledge, that's absolutely fine. Just like how chartered accountants have a basic knowledge about the Companies Act, and for detail, we are the expert one, right? So just see the allowability of the expenditure relating to amalgamation or demerger. So the demerger takes place, the amalgamation has taken place. Now your company has also incurred expenditure. Now what kind of expenditure is there? You have to appoint registered valuer, you will file the fees to NCLT, you will conduct the meeting, the class meeting of the shareholder, the filings of NCLT, the ROC fees and everything. So whatever expenditure you have incurred, okay, then also there will be advertisement expense, right? So all those expenditure, whatever you have incurred for relating to amalgamation or demerger. And when I'm saying advertisement, it is basically all those newspaper advertisement which you have to do as per the act, okay? So the allowability of all those expenditure that will be given, and how it is given. So that expenditure will be divided in 5 equal parts. Okay. So you divide the total expenditure by 5. 1/5 of the expenditure you take in the financial year in which the demerger or the amalgamation took place, and balance in the coming 4 financial years. Okay. So let's presume, I hope there is nothing. Okay. So let's presume that in the financial year 2015 2016 the amalgamation took place, okay, and the total expense was what? It was, let's presume, 5,000. The total expense was 5,000. Now how you are going to take the benefit? So 5,000 would be divided by 5, so it is what? It is 1,000. Now 1,000 deduction, you will get it in the financial year 2015 2016, and balance 4,000 in next 4 years equally. So it is basically 16 17, then 17 18, and then 18 19, and then 19 20. So you are going to get 1,000 1,000 1,000 and 1,000. Got this? Got this point? Now just read whatever has been written above and just see, does this make sense? Jinesh is saying it is becoming difficult to retain everything. Which part, Jinesh? Vaishali ji has also sent resulting company is foreign company, that means under tax though it is allowed. Yes, even though it is allowed in the Companies Act, in Income Tax Act it will be taxable. Just see this. So don't remember the sections. No one is forcing you to remember the sections. You don't have to remember the sections. You don't have to sit and remember the sections. Trust me, even I have never done that. But yes, what you can do while discussing about a particular point, you can take reference of the section. Try to incorporate this habit. This way you'll be able to remember. Don't say merger. Say merger under section 232. Merger under section. Don't say fast track merger. Say merger under section 233. Don't say cross border merger. Say merger under section 234. Right? Don't say trigger ho gaya. Just say regulation 3(1) is triggered. Gradually you will be able to remember it. So don't try to sit and mug up. Okay, you'll be able to do that. But as far as this particular point is concerned, is this clear? They ask you this in the exam, this one. An Indian company will be allowed a deduction of 1/5 of the expenditure incurred for the purpose of amalgamation of demerger for the 5 years from the year. Do you see this? From the year in which the amalgamation or demerger takes place. Okay, so the amalgamation or the demerger took place in the financial year 2015-2016. The total expenditure was 5,000. So you divide that by 5. 1,000 you can take it in financial year 15-16 and the balance 4,000 in the coming subsequent 4 years. Does this make sense? नो
Yes,
जनेश,
sir.
नो जनेश, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आपका कंटेंट पुअर हो जाएगा. योर कंटेंट section number does not count in your content. If you remember the section number, that's the cherry on the cake, but your provisions are still the cake. आप समझ रहे हो? वो ब्लैक फॉरेस्ट पेस्ट्री के ऊपर देखते हो चेरी लगा हुआ रहता है. तो अगर चेरी नहीं होगा तो भी ब्लैक फॉरेस्ट पेस्ट्री इंसान खा लेगा, मतलब एक्सेप्ट कर लेगा. बट सिर्फ चेरी मिलेगा और नीचे का केक नहीं होगा तो नो वन इज गोइंग टू एक्सेप्ट दैट. सो सेम थिंग गोज हियर. द सेक्शन नंबर इज जस्ट द चेरी ऑन द केक. इफ यू पुट दैट, it looks little beautiful. But if you don't write the section number but your provisions are absolutely correct, then definitely you're going to get marks. Your content will not become poor. Okay, others please बताइए ये वाला point clear हुआ?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead. Then just take a screenshot of this because this part will get erased. Just take a screenshot of this example and later on you can just copy it. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, if you see, I'll have to erase this part. Okay. Next is your depreciation. So how does the depreciation is, how do we calculate depreciation in the year of amalgamation? So just see if the amalgamation is being executed on 1st of April of any particular, let's say 1st of April 2021, there is no problem because up till 31st March 2020, the transferor company was claiming the depreciation. Now from 1st April 2021, the depreciation will be claimed by the transferee company. Same goes for the demerger, demerged company and resulting company. There is going to be no problem. But what if the demerger has taken place on 1st January 2021? Now what will you do? The depreciation, will it be claimed entirely by the transferor company? The depreciation will be claimed entirely by the transferee company, or they will divide it. And if they divide it, how they are going to divide it? So this is what is being given here, that the depreciation to the amalgamated company and the amalgamating company in the year of amalgamation, right? And the depreciation to the demerged company and the resulting company in the year of demerger shall be appropriated in the ratio in the number of days for which the assets were used. So simple. I'll again ask you to take a screenshot of this. It is very, very simple, but let me just write it and then you can take a screenshot of this. Just see what is going to be your step one. Step one will be to calculate depreciation without considering the amalgamation or demerger. forget that amalgamation or demerger has taken place. Now, if amalgamation and demerger has taken place, if you ignore that particular fact, how do you calculate depreciation in the Income Tax Act? How do you calculate depreciation? How do you calculate depreciation? How do you calculate depreciation in the Income Tax Act? How do you calculate depreciation in the Income Tax Act? Reducing balance method. Okay. Okay. There is something called as the period of use. Correct. WDV method. We also have this method, more than 180 days, less than 180 days. You remember? If it is
Yes.
less than 180 days, you use it for half. So the rates are specified. Correct. The rates are specified. The rate of depreciation is specified. Yes or no? Now, will you be getting the entire depreciation? So let's say if there is a plant and machinery which is to be depreciated at the rate 10%, right? So will you get entire 10% or will you get half of it, 5%? This is on the period of usage. Yes or no? If the asset is put to use for more than 180 days, you'll get entire 10% depreciation. If it is used for less than 180 days, then you'll be getting a depreciation of 5%. So step one, calculate depreciation without considering amalgamation or demerger normally, which means check what is the rate plus also check what is the period of usage. Just check what is the period of usage, 180 days or 200. With this, you will get the rate of depreciation. Then step two, just see the number of days before and the number of days after amalgamation. Before and after amalgamation, right? Step three will be that depreciation should be apportioned in this particular ratio. Just take a screenshot of this. We'll do one practical question like how we did for previous step. Just take a screenshot of this. Just take a screenshot. Done?
Done, sir.
Okay. We'll do a basic practice so you'll understand. So let's presume on 1st April 2015, the written down value of the plant and machinery was 2 lakh rupees. Okay. And the rate of depreciation is 10%. Okay. The amalgamation took place on, let's say, 15th November 2015. Now you need to find out how the depreciation will be adjusted. We need to find out how the depreciation will be adjusted, right? So what will you do? You'll take this 2 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees into 10%. So this is your step one. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah. So step one, this is 2 lakh rupees. That's the written down value into 10%. So you got the depreciation at the rate 20,000. So we know the depreciation amount is 20,000. Thereafter, you'll get step two. And in step two, you're going to find out the period of usage. That is how many number of days it was used by the transferor company and for how many days it was used by the transferee company. So if you see, the amalgamation took place on 15th of November. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October and November. So this is 30 days. 31, 30, 31, 31, then 30, then 31, and then let's say 15 days. So we'll do a total of this. And then from November, December, Jan, Feb, and March. So November it is going to be 15, December it is going to be 31, January 31, and 2016 was a leap year. So you will have 29 days and this is 31. So just someone can do that. Can someone do the addition here? So 30 plus 31 plus 30 plus 31 plus 31,
229, sir.
229. So this is 229 days. And how many days are this?
137.
137. So we'll do it 229 ratio 137. So for 229 days, the asset was used by the transferor company, and for 137 days, it was used by the transferee company. So now step 3 will be that you will bifurcate 20,000 rupees between the transferor company and the transferee company in which ratio? In 229 ratio 137. So this will be for transferor company, the depreciation amount will be 20,000 into 229 divided by 366, and for the transferee company it will be 20,000 into 137 by 366. Got it? Is this clear? Guys, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now we do one more thing. I just change one information here and I say that
Sir,
yes,
then both the company will get the
yes,
deduction.
because for financial year 15-16, transferor company will also file the return. Na? The return will be filed by the transferor company. And for transferee company, it will be separate na, for this year. From next year onwards, we'll have the same company. But for this year, the returns will go different. Na?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the reason they'll file it. Now I just change one information here. Instead of writing the written down value of the plant and machinery, I say the cost of plant and machinery is this, and not on 1st of April 2015. I say this was purchased on, let's say 1st October. This was purchased on 1st October. So if it was purchased for 1st October, then it is used for, or let's say we will say 9th October. On 9th of October, this asset was purchased. Now, if it was purchased on 9th of October, then in that case, it was used for less than 180 days. Yes or no? Yes or no? If it was used for less than 180 days, will you charge 5% depreciation, 10% depreciation? No, you are going to charge 5% depreciation. So you will calculate like this, 20,000 into 5%, 10,000. But then we will again have to calculate how many days they had used and how many days the transferee company has used. And then accordingly, you will bifurcate this 10,000 rupees depreciation. Then in that case, you will say for 21 days of October, it was used by transferor company. And for 15 days of November, it was used by the transferee company. So this is 6 and 3. So 36 days it was used by the transferor company. And for 137 days, it was used by the transferee company. So bifurcate this 10,000 between transferor and transferee in this ratio. 36 ratio 137. Is this clear? Is this clear?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
ये समझा आपको पक्का?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So,
sorted. Yes,
why did you charge rate of depreciation 5%? Because less than you
less
said
than
something.
180 days. For so something in Income Tax Act we have that if the asset is put to use for more than 182 days, 180 days, then in that case you charge full depreciation. Otherwise, whatever the rate is prescribed, you charge half depreciation.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay, so just refer the PGBP notes, Income Tax Act PGBP notes. You will get complete idea about it. Okay, so the same provision which is there. This clear? Please take the screenshot of this. Okay, it will be helpful for you to again understand. Done?
Yes.
So usually
Done.
they don't ask practical question on all these, but if they do ask, trust me, it will be a problem, because many students, those who are not giving the tax paper with this CRI group, or let's say they've already cleared, or let's say even if they are giving in your professional 70 marks is for IDT. So DT anyway, people, they leave it, right? So very few students would be there, those who have actually studied it well in the executive, and they also remember till professional, they'll be able to answer this. But again, in executive also, now the tax paper is, since it's MCQ, so again, we don't get into too much of details. But trust me, if these kind of questions are asked, which is quite likely in the coming attempts, right, seeing the past trend, then it will become problematic, but not for you all, because we have covered it in the class, right? So any doubt in this? Any doubt in this?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Let's go ahead then. So one expense was this allowability of the expenditure relating to amalgamation, and second was for the depreciation. So just see these steps. Now I hope these three steps are clear to you all, right? Let's go ahead and see the third part. Now, expenditure on know-how, expenditure of amalgamation is already done. Preliminary expenses, capital expenditure on research, expenditure for the acquisition of patent or copyright, expenditure for obtaining the telecommunication license. All these expenses which are incurred by the transferor company and are not written off. And when I say it is not written off, which means they are unexpired. These would be allowed to be set off by the transferee company. Just remember this. It will save a lot of your time and energy. And also, Janesh, it will be easy for you to remember also, right? This will not be very, very technical, just simple C. There is an expense which is incurred by the transferor company. Let's take example for Vodafone and Idea. Okay, a perfect example which fits in here. So Vodafone and you have Idea. So after they both merged, it is now Vodafone Idea. Okay. Now to obtain telecom operator license, Vodafone had paid some fees to government. Even Idea had paid some fees to the government. So let's say Idea paid 7,000 crores. Let's say Idea paid 7,000 crores. Okay. And this was paid 3 years ago. Okay. Idea had paid 7,000 crores to the government of India 3 years ago. Again, I'll make it in the blank slide so that I can explain some more points here. So let's presume again on 1st January, or let's say on 1st April 2015, Idea paid 7,000 crores to government of India. Why? To obtain telecom license. Now tell me one thing, this 7,000 crore, will it be written off immediately or will it be written off gradually?
Gradually.
Gradually. Gradually then in how many years? Does Income Tax Act prescribes? Does Income Tax Act prescribe how many years?
I
Does
think 8 years.
7 years. Okay, that's the reason I've written 7,000 crore. Mathematics thoda weak. ठीक है, तपलीक उधर. Just see. So 7,000 crores we have, right? So 7,000 crores, this has to be written off over the period of 7 financial years. Now let's say on 1st April 2018, Vodafone plus Idea merger take place. Now you see, out of 7,000 crore, 1,000 crore was already written off in the financial year 15-16, 1,000 in 16-17, and 1,000 in 17-18, correct? So you still have 4,000 crore which is not written off, okay, which is unexpired. What will happen of this 4,000 crore? What will happen of this 4,000 crore? So answer
Merge.
two questions. So answer me two questions. Who paid for these 4,000 crore? Who has paid? Vodafone or Idea? No, this is paid by Idea. Okay. Jeet, this was paid by Idea. But these will be written off by Vodafone. Right? Idea being the amalgamating company. Idea being the amalgamating company and Vodafone being the amalgamated company. Got it? Got it? There is an
So,
expense which was done by the amalgamating company. That
so
expense
one
is,
doubt.
yes,
Even Vodafone will be the amalgamating company, na, and VI will be the amalgamated company.
whatever the case is, then both the companies are going to, the VI is going to get the tax benefit. But did VI pay anything?
No,
Did VI pay anything? Answer is no. So irrespective, if it becomes VI or it becomes V, these 4,000 crores were not paid by any of the two. It was paid by Idea. So now if it is VI, then the amount will be written off by VI, even though they have not paid for it. If it becomes V, then again it will be paid by V, even though amount is not paid by them. Got it? So motive of this is that the expense. So in Income Tax Act, how do you get the deduction? How do you get the tax benefit? When you yourself incur some expense. If you have not incurred, so take one example. My father, he recently undergone a surgery, right? So he has spent money on his surgery. Okay. If 100% amount is reimbursed by the insurance company, do you think while filing his income tax return, we can claim a deduction for those expenses? Can we claim? Answer is no. That will not be allowed. Take for example, I have a stock in trade. The stock in trade was insured. The stock in trade was destroyed by fire. The insurance company gave me the compensation. It gave me the book value of the stock. It said profit नहीं देंगे पर आपका जो book value वो देंगे. Now tell me, can I claim in the income tax return on the debit side? Can I debit loss due to fire? Answer is no. I cannot do that, right? So why? Because the loss is not incurred by me. The loss is not compensated by the insurance company. Okay. Same way when I talk about my father's medical expense, that is not incurred by me. That has been taken care by the insurance company. So if the expense is not incurred by me, I cannot claim the deduction. Same thing if you discuss here, this 4,000 crore is paid by Idea. It is neither paid by VI nor it is paid by Vodafone, as the case may be. But still they will get the deduction. Okay, they'll still get the deduction for all those expenses which was paid by the amalgamating company, right? The balance unexpired portion will be allowed to be set off or carried forward by the amalgamated company. Is this clear now? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The amalgamating company transferred some of its debtors. Okay. Amalgamating company transferred some of its debtors to the amalgamated company. So let's say Idea had supplied some goods to Arcom, Anil Ambani. Okay. Now that amount is now become bad debts. Now tell me, who had actually supplied goods to Anil Ambani? It was Idea. The bad debts will be incurred by Vodafone and still it will be allowed as set off. Okay. Is this clear? खर्चा कौन कर रहा है? ट्रांसफरर कंपनी, अमेलगमेटिंग कंपनी, पर उसका टैक्स बेनिफिट कौन लेके जाएगा? अमेलगमेटेड कंपनी. Okay. So this is the scenario. So instead of studying each and every provision separately, each time saying the same thing, I have just concluded it all. And now if you see, you'll be able to correlate what I have written here. Incurred by the amalgamating company or the transferor company, which is still not written off, the unexpired portion that will be allowed to be set off by the transferee company in the future years. Okay. Got it? This is clear, everyone? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Sure, right? So don't get worried. So now if you get a, so when we'll do the PYQ session, we'll come across this kind of a question. So just remember that point of time also, you'll have to write the answer the same way. They'll say, what are the tax benefits which are associated with the amalgamation? So you'll have to write that in case of amalgamation or in case of demerger, the expenses which were incurred by the amalgamating company or the demerged company, which were unexpired, they will be allowed to be set off by the transferee company or the amalgamated company or the resulting company, as the case may be. Okay. And then you can mention that expenditures such as technical know-how or expenditure of amortization of the preliminary expenses, capital expenditure of scientific research, telecommunication license, even bad debts, all those things will be done this way. Is this clear? Till now, this is clear, right? So let's see. Now there is another case. Now we just discussed that the capital gain tax will be exempt if the amalgamated company or the resulting company is an Indian company. Now we will be discussing that in case of amalgamation, the amalgamation will take place, okay, but the resulting company will not be the Indian company, or the amalgamated company will not be the Indian company. Still, we will have the tax benefit here. Before I discuss this, does anyone know what happened in case of Vodafone India case? What was the Vodafone India case? What was the Vodafone India case? What was the Vodafone India case? Why Vodafone had to pay tax in India? Vodafone India transaction, did it take place in India or it took place outside India? Okay, forget that. Does anyone remember section 9 of Income Tax Act? Income deemed to accrue arise in India. Income deemed to accrue arise in India. Section 9, Income Tax Act.
Yes, sir.
What is the concept of that? What do you mean by this income deemed to accrue arise in India that will be taxed in India? What is the concept? Anyone can unmute and you can answer. No? Okay. Tell me one thing. Okay. So I'll ask a question here and you tell me. So let's say you have Donald Trump, who is a non-resident. Okay. Then you have, let's say, Joe Biden, non-resident. Okay. Donald Trump is holding shares of Reliance. Okay. Donald Trump is holding shares of Reliance. The cost of acquisition was 1000, which he is selling it to Joe Biden. And he's selling at the rate 3000 rupees. So Donald Trump is making a capital gain of 2000 rupees. Yes or no? Donald Trump is making a capital gain of 2000 rupees. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just keep on answering. Okay. Just keep on answering either on comment section or unmute yourself and just try to answer these questions. Trust me, you'll be able to remember it better. So just see this. So there is a capital gain of 2000. Let's presume this transaction took place in USA. This transaction took place in USA. Can Nirmala Sitharaman, our finance minister, honorable finance minister, can she go to Donald Trump and demand tax on this?
No, sir.
No?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's basically
Sir,
TDS.
no.
TDS, Donald Trump is selling the shares to Joe Biden. Where the TDS will come into picture? Who is going to deduct TDS here? Why will Joe Biden deduct TDS?
Sir, as this income he has generated from India.
But the transaction was executed in USA. They both were chilling in a bar at New York. One Saturday evening, Joe Biden said that हम तुमको Reliance का share बेचेगा. Joe
Sir,
Biden
but
said that most welcome. They had the physical share certificate in their hand. They executed it. Simple. Pooja is answering. Indian company is involved, so the tax should be paid to the Indian government. Okay. There will be capital gain tax. Okay. So the simple point is, it's not just that Indian company, the company is an Indian company. The point is, again, capital gain tax is to be paid on when there is a transfer of capital asset. Yes or no? What is capital asset in this case? What is capital
Shares.
asset in this case? It is the
Shares.
shares of Reliance Industries. Okay. Where is this capital asset situated? Is it situated in
India.
India or is it situated outside India? It is
India.
situated in India. Now don't go literally that the share certificates are in the hands of Donald Trump. So sir, the shares are situated outside India. The shares are of the Indian company. Therefore, we believe that the shares are situated in India only. Okay. Even though the physical share certificates are in USA, doesn't matter, right? It's the capital asset is in India. So since the capital asset is situated in India, in that case, if there is a capital gain, that has to be paid irrespective whether the party is a resident or the party is PRI, PROI. It doesn't matter. Guys, this is clear? Or if we discuss about Income Tax Act, then ROR, RNOR or NR. It doesn't matter if the capital asset is situated in India, you have to pay tax. So Nirmala Sitharaman can go to Donald Trump and demand tax, whatever the rate of tax is on this 2000 rupees. Joe Biden is in no obligation to deduct TDS and everything. TDS is anyway not there. Now just imagine if this would not have been taxed, what people would have done? They would have sold shares outside India only. Yes or no? हर कोई फॉरेन में जाता, शेयर बेच देता और वापस से इंडिया में आता और बोलता भाई शेयर्स तो हमने फॉरेन में बेचा, so no tax arises in India. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Right? Shell companies outside India, yes, exactly, they do this. But again, The tax benefit will not be there because again, the capital asset is situated in India. All right. Now, how this is related to merger, sir? ये भी आप बता दो. देखो, this is related to merger in this way that there is a transfer that is taking place in a scheme of amalgamation. But what is the transfer? What is the capital asset? The capital asset is the shares which is held in the Indian company. Now replace Donald Trump with Donald Trump Incorporated. So Donald Trump is a company in USA. Okay. So there is a transfer. Okay. In a scheme of amalgamation, and what is getting transferred? The shares of the Indian company. This shares of the Indian company is held by a amalgamating foreign company, and now this is given to the amalgamated foreign company. So in our example, this is what? This is Donald Trump, and this is what? This is Joe Biden. Okay, so Donald Trump, Joe Biden. Donald Trump Limited is getting amalgamated with Joe Biden Limited. So जो भी Donald Trump का holding है, everything is getting transferred to Joe Biden. Okay, so the Donald Trump was holding some shares in the Indian company, which pursuant to amalgamation is getting transferred to Joe Biden. Now, this will be made tax free. No capital gain tax will be there. Now, before we discuss this, tell me, transfer हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? Transfer हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? For Donald Trump, transfer हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? Transfer हुआ है, but क्या tax देना है? Answer is no. If the conditions are fulfilled. So it's not unconditionally, right? If it's not unconditionally, there are two conditions which needs to be satisfied. Only then we say that the tax benefit will be there. You don't have to pay the capital gain tax. First is at least 25% of the shareholders of the amalgamating foreign company, they continue to remain the shareholders of the amalgamated company. So both the companies shareholders should be same. First is this, same in the sense at least 25% should get transfer. And second is Donald Trump is not paying tax in USA, right? Not illegally, but legally this transaction is not taxed in USA. Such transfer do not attract tax in the country in which the amalgamating company is incorporated. If that is not taxable in your country, it will not be taxed in our country. If it is taxed in your country, then please pay tax in our country also. Got my point? Got the point clear? Got this point clear? That the shares of the Indian company is getting transferred by a amalgamating foreign company to another amalgamated foreign company. In that case, this transaction will qualify for exemption if 25% of the shareholders of the company remain same and such transfer do not attract capital gain tax in the home country in which the amalgamating company is situated. Only then we say that the tax benefit will not be, the tax transaction will not be taxable and you'll get the tax benefit. Now, why this kind of a provision was incorporated? Because you see companies like Hindustan Unilever and Unilever. So there are group companies, conglomerate, cross, multinational companies which are there. What they do, they incorporate subsidiary companies in India. And when the merger amalgamation takes place at the group level, the subsidiary company, that is the capital asset, is situated in India, that will also get taxed, right? And as I said, India is not a tax haven country. We are very poor in terms of taxation. No doubt ease of doing business, the rankings say something else, but when it comes to taxation, trust me, India will top from bottom. Okay, right? It is going to it will be in the ranked at a very lower level because of the tax litigations and dispute which is there in India. Okay, so companies will not come to India. Why? Because they'll say that if we set up a wholly owned subsidiary in India and let's say a merger amalgamation takes place in the host country, let's say in Europe or in America, then in that case, the entire transaction will get taxed and the same Vodafone uh, case will come here. The Hutchison Vodafone case will come into India. The Crane India, just go through the Crane India case also recently. India has to pay almost 9,000 crores to Crane India, right? So all these things, if you just see, would have made India's image bad, and therefore this amendment was introduced where it said that in case the capital asset is the shares held in the Indian company which is getting transferred in a scheme of amalgamation by a foreign company to another foreign company, then in that case, this transfer will be exempted from tax if 25% of the shareholders they remain same and the amalgamating company do not attract any capital gain tax in its home country, then in that case you get that exemption. Is this part clear? Guys, is this part clear? ये आप लोगों को clear हुआ?
Yes.
Right? So in case they ask you that foreign companies holding shares in India, some tax benefit and all, this is the short and simple answer which you have to write. Okay. Right. So let's go
So,
ahead. Yes.
so if it will be taxed in their host country, that means India,
Double
our
taxed,
country, will,
double
yeah,
tax.
double tax will
So
attract,
they'll have
right?
to pay tax there also and they'll have to tax it here also. When they'll pay tax in their home country also, they'll also pay tax here also.
Okay, sir.
Then
But
you'll
the
have to,
tax rate,
then you will have to see the double taxation avoidance agreement,
what
DTAA, whether the tax paid in US you'll be allowed to set off here or not, and all the case maybe. Okay.
okay, sir. Okay.
All right. Then we take a leave today. We have covered a lot. Tomorrow we'll start from reverse merger. Okay. And we will finish the taxation part tomorrow. Tomorrow again we'll meet at 3 o'clock. Okay. Tomorrow we'll be able to pack up the taxation part, and then from Sunday onwards we'll start with the either valuation or buyback, as the case may be. We'll start with that. So I'll take a leave for the day. Just revise whatever we have covered till now, and we have actually covered a lot. Just go through from the module. You'll realize how precise I have made it and have concised the entire material. And just go through this PDF and just flip your module. You'll realize, right? Also, one disclaimer that in the module, you'll find that amalgamating company and amalgamated company, they have used it randomly. I've said you before also. Some places you'll find, sir, the word should have been amalgamated company, but they have used amalgamating company. Don't get worried. And most importantly, don't doubt me. Okay. That is going to be injurious for you. Your part B is still pending. Okay. So just see that there is typing error, technical error in the module. Okay. So just
In
ignore
old
that.
syllabus, no, sir?
Forget old. Even in new syllabus, they have done the same thing. ओल्ड सिलेबस में तो है ही, नए सिलेबस के मॉड्यूल के अंदर भी सेम मिस्टेक है, क्योंकि छापा तो ओल्ड सिलेबस के बुक से ही है ना. टैक्सेशन वाले में इन्होंने इतना ज्यादा मेहनत नहीं किया. सो जस्ट सी, except for that we have covered a lot. Tomorrow we'll start with the reverse merger and we'll finish the balance provision, and taxation wala part hamara kal complete ho jayega. So with that we'll be left with only two topics from part A. One is valuation, another is buyback. Okay. So that's it for today's lecture then. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Bye, sir. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Yeah.
सर
Yes. Yes.
ये मर्जर और ये सब का PYQ सेशन अभी होएगा कि बाद में
मैं
होएगा?
मोस्ट प्रोबेबली आप लोगों का ये PYQ सेशन नेक्स्ट वीक रखूंगा, बिकॉज नेक्स्ट वीक आई विल बी ऑल्सो थ्रू विद योर बायबैक. अगर मैंने संडे को बायबैक आप लोगों का शुरू किया तो, या अगर मंडे को भी मैं बायबैक शुरू करता हूं तो नेक्स्ट वीक आपका बायबैक कंप्लीट हो जाएगा. देन बिफोर हिटिंग वैल्यूएशन एंड पार्ट सी, व्हाट विल डू, विल गो थ्रू ऑल द पास्ट क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम पार्ट ए. Okay, and then we will go ahead with the valuation part and the insolvency part.
Insolvency.
Okay.
Okay.
So
have some
till then
doubts.
I would just say that अभी तक जितना अपना complete हुआ है उसको आप लोग अच्छे से पूरा complete कर लो.
So I have a doubt.
Yes.
So fast track merger, we have to get approval from the members as well as the creditors, na? Like
Yes.
because I was just confused in the slide.
No, both
Both, na?
members
Okay.
and creditors.
Oh, okay, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Pooja has also asked one question that said the approach to study this subject should be, yes, first you have to go through the, see the class PPT is for your understanding, for even noting down what all things you have to write in the exam and everything there. Module is only to give you a kind of satisfaction that we have covered everything, right? Nothing is missed. And also some places will only refer the module because in module they have put it in a very precise manner. They have put it in a, like the judgments which were there, we have covered it from module. But whatever is else, I have tried to incorporate everything in the PPT, right? I've literally taken the screenshot of the module and I've put it in the PowerPoint presentation so that one day before exam, you don't waste too much time in studying the module or multiple notes. You just refer the PowerPoint presentation. So yes, step one will be my videos. Second step would be the PowerPoint presentation, which will be a reference material for you. And once, let's say a particular chapter is done, then you can pick up the ICSI module and just give a glance that have we covered everything or have we missed a particular thing, right? And then the PYQ, the past year questions. Do you suggest to write down? If you have time, you can note down. Okay, don't just copy the PowerPoint presentation. I would always suggest that write down in your own words, try to add a few more points what you feel. There are so many things that I discuss but I don't write it in the PPT. Okay, so if you feel that you have mentioned any particular point which is important but which is not written in the slide, try to copy it down. You can do that. You can also take the printout of the PowerPoint presentation. Take the printout only one side, right? Don't take print on the both side. One side you take the print, and on the other side, the blank side, you can scribble your own material, your own knowledge. So there are things which you will find it easy. There are things which you will find difficult, or while going through the module, you come across a particular case. So anything you want to scribble, you can do that. But yes, writing in the notebook is definitely going to help. It is definitely going to help. Just 2 days back, one of the student, she sent me the picture. She doesn't attend the live lecture. She had sent me the picture that she is noting down everything from the slides while attending the lecture and everything. So that definitely helps because once you write everything, the automatically the remembering, the retention goes better for sure. Okay, Pooja. All right then. See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.